All right, welcome to Unit 9, Day 3, Forms Review. So, this is putting it all together, all three forms, and I really want to stress that standard form gives you the y-intercept, vertex form gives you the vertex h comma k, remember it's the opposite sign of the inside, and factored form gives you the roots or the zeros, remember it's always the opposite sign, so it's root 1 comma 0, that's how we write it. Again, it just gives you the x-intercept. So we're going to put it all together, and we're going to start with intercept form. So intercept form is actually beneficial. It not only gives you the x-intercepts quickly, it can also give you the vertex and the y-intercept. So the x-intercepts are the easiest. It's the opposite sign, so it's 2 comma 0. And the next one is at 6 comma 0. And the graph is going to be your friend on these. So I'm going to go to my graph, and I'm going to plot them. I got 2 comma 0 and 6, 0. Now to find the y-intercept, remember the y-intercept is always when x equals 0. So I'm going to go up to my equation, and all I'm going to do is plug in 0 for x. So it's going to be 0 minus 2 times 0 minus 6, which is really just negative 2 times negative 6. So my x-intercept is going to be at 12. Remember the x-coordinate's always 0, and all you do is plug in 0 for x. You replace x with 0. In the end, you really just end up multiplying negative 2 times negative 6, which gives you 12. So now I'm going to go to my graph and see that the y-intercept's at 12. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So it's way up there. All right. Now we need to find the axis of symmetry because that's going to help us get our vertex. Remember, the axis of symmetry and the x-coordinate of the vertex are the same. So if I find one, I got the other. So to find the axis of symmetry, it's really just going to be the middle of my zeros. So there's one pair, there's another pair, and I see that the middle is right here. Again, another way to do this is to take 2 plus 6 and add it together and divide by 2. You get the average. 8 divided by 2 gives me 4. Doesn't matter which way you do it. I just tend to do it graphically and just use my fingers and find the middle. And I can quickly see the middle of 2 and 6 is 4. So my axis of symmetry is at 4. Alright, so I got my axis of symmetry, which means the vertex lies somewhere on that line there. I know the x-coordinate of the vertex is 4, so I'm going to take my equation, and all I'm going to do now is replace x with what I know it is. I know the x-coordinate is now 4, so I'm going to write 4 minus 2 and 4 minus 6 instead of x. So that gives me 2 times negative 2, which gives me negative 4. So if I look, my vertex is at 4, negative 4, which makes sense because my y-intercept's way up there. I'm not going to even try to do that. We saw how bad my graphs were on the last one. That one's not too bad. All right. So what I want you to do now is pause the video and see if you can do this one on your own. Remember, x-intercepts are easy. It's just the opposite signs. Remember, the y-coordinate of every x-intercept is 0. Y-intercepts, the x-coordinate is 0. And remember, the axis of symmetry is just the middle, or it's kind of like finding the median first semester. All right, so try this one on your own. All right, x-intercepts are at negative 1 and negative 3. It's the opposite sign. So I'm going to go to negative 1, negative 3. And the axis of symmetry is easy. It's right in between there, which is at negative 2. The y-intercept is really just like multiplying all of these numbers because you're basically going to plug 0 in for x. So it's really going to be 2 times 0 plus 1 times 0 plus 3, which is really just 2 times 1 times 3. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 3 is 6. So the x-intercept is at 0, 6. Oops, I don't think that's 6. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, the axis of symmetry we already found is right in between negative 3 and negative 1, which is right there at negative 2. The vertex means it has to fall somewhere along there. We know the x-coordinate of the vertex is negative 2. So all I'm going to do is take my equation, 2 times x plus 1 x plus 3. And I'm replacing the x now with the x coordinate, which is negative 2. So it's 2 times, scroll down, negative 1, because negative 2 plus 1 is negative 1, and negative 2 plus 3 is positive 1. These should always match except be the opposite sign, because it's basically the distance from this axis of symmetry. That's a negative 1, that's a positive 1 distance. So 2 times negative 1 is negative 2, times 1 is just negative 2. So my vertex is at negative 2, negative 2. So my parabola is going to look something like, remember there's always a matching point over here, so if I go 2 away on this side, I can get to that matching point. And it looks like a wavy U, but yours should be a nice pretty U because you don't have to use the software. Alright, so what I want you to do now is try this one on your own. I'm going to fill in the answers. You just have to fast forward to it. Oopsie. Remember, x-intercepts, oh crud. Remember, the x-intercepts always have y-coordinates of 0. The y-intercepts always have x-coordinates of 0. It's 2 and negative 4, so you should have gone to your graph at 2 and 1, 2, 3, 4. The y-intercept is really like multiplying 0.5 times negative 2 times 4. Half of 2 is negative 1 times 4 is negative 4. So the y-intercept is at negative 4. 2, 3, 4. Axis of symmetry is directly between those. So directly between negative 4 and positive 2 is, let's see, 2, negative 2 divided 2, negative 1. And again, I would just use my fingers and point to the middle. So I'm going to draw the line at negative 1, and that's in my axis of symmetry. And you can check it's 1, 2, 3 away on this side, 1, 2, 3 away on this side. That means the vertex has to be somewhere along there. So I know the x-coordinate of the vertex is negative 1. Anytime you know x, you're always going to plug it in. So I have y equals 0.5 times negative 1 minus 2 times negative 1 plus 4. So it's 0.5 times negative 3 times positive 3. All right, so it's 0.5 or 1/2 times negative 9. Well, half of negative 9 is negative 4.5. So my vertex is at negative 1, negative 4.5. Oops. Right about there. And remember, there's always that matching point over here. So my parabola looks like that. All right, and again, the graph is going to be your friend. Use it. All right, now I'm going to really run through the next couple of things pretty quickly and not do a lot of writing, because I just want to emphasize what each form tells you. So it first tells you your standard form. How do you find if it opens up or down? That's the A value. If the A value is bigger than 1, meaning it's positive, it opens up. If the number in the very front opens, if it's negative or less than, not less than 1. If it's bigger than 0, meaning it's positive, it opens up. If it's smaller than 0, it opens down. That means if it's opening down, it's a max. If it's opening up, it's a min. That's old stuff. Remember, the y-intercept is just the c value, so it's the ordered pair 0, c. And the axis of symmetry we're not going to do again, but if you remember this from last time, it was last chapter was x equals negative b over 2a. Right? Then from vertex form, it says, how do you find if it opens up or down? Well, that still goes back to that a value. I'm using the same color for everything. It goes back to the a value. If the a is bigger than 0, meaning it's positive, it opens up. If the a value is less than 0, meaning it's negative, it opens down. Again, if it opens down, it's a max. If it opens up, it's a minimum. We know that from last chapter. The vertex is the ordered pair h, k. Remember that inside one is the opposite. The axis of symmetry is just the x-coordinate of the vertex, which in this case we're calling h. And I know this is going to feel a little bit like alphabet soup. If this does not make sense to you, it's just fine. I'm never going to test you on this as long as you can know what it is when you get the actual numbers. To find the y-intercept, you're going to plug 0 in for x. Anytime you don't know the y-intercept, you're always going to plug 0 in for x, because we always write the y-intercept 0, comma blank. The x-coordinate of every y-intercept is 0. All right. So then we're going to move on to factored form. Again, how do you determine if it opens up and down? It still goes to this a value. Whatever number's in front, if it's positive, it opens up. If it's negative, it opens down. And we know this from about 3 chapters ago. If it opens down, it's a max. If it opens up, it's a min. The x-intercepts are the opposite. So it's R1, comma 0 and R2, comma 0. The axis of symmetry is the middle of the zeros. And again, I do this graphically, but if you prefer an equation, it's R1 plus R2 divided 2. It's root 1 plus root 2 divided 2. Basically, if your zeros were at 3 and 1, you do 3 plus 1 divided by 2. To find the vertex, you find the axis of symmetry, which is the middle of the roots, and you plug in the axis of symmetry to find y. All right, so I know that one's kind of long to write, but you take the axis of symmetry, you plug it in, you find your y-coordinate, and it's always going to be that. And the same goes for the y-intercept. Just like we did for vertex form, the y-intercepts are always 0, comma blank, so all you're going to do to find the y-intercept is plug 0 in for x and then solve. All right, so we're going to try a few examples of these, and I'm going to skip a couple of them because we're running a little short on time. I'm going to skip over this one because this one's from last chapter. You have to use negative b over 2a on this one. If you want to do that one on your own in your notes, that's fine, but I'm going to skip over it because we did that last chapter. So we're going to start with factored form. So this, I just gave you the answer, is in factored form. And please listen because my handwriting's not that great. It's opening down because it's a negative in front. All right, if it's opening down, that means it's a maximum. The x-intercepts are the opposite sign, so it's negative 5, 0 and 1, 0. So I'm going to go to my graph, and I'm going to go to negative 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's my 1, 0, and at 1 I have another one. And I'm going to find the middle of that, so I would just take my fingers if I were you, but mine, I don't have fingers on this. And I see that it's in between negative 2 and negative 3. So it's right in the middle at negative 2.5. All right, which means that the x-coordinate of the vertex is negative 2.5. And to find the y-coordinate, I'm going to need to calculate that. So I'm going to plug it in, negative 2 times negative 2.5 plus 5, and negative 2.5 minus 1. So I get negative 2 times 2.5. Whoops. Gosh, cookies. I need to redo this one, so hold tight on that. I'm going to stop this. You have to start the next video. I can't pause on mine, so stop this. I'm going to rewrite this problem. We'll do it in the next video.